Hello everyone and welcome to episode 1 of the Chamber of Sages podcast, a roundtable discussion format Zelda-focused podcast featuring 6 of the best and most popular Zelda content creators on YouTube. HMK, ZeldaMaster, Zeltik, Commonwealth Realm, Dr.Wily, and myself, your host, Game Over Jesse. This is essentially the Chamber of Sages 2.0. Now that we are done with our long hiatus, we will be uploading a new podcast episode once per week. And you can also find new Zelda-related videos on all of our individual channels as well, where we also frequently collaborate with each other. On this week's episode, since it is the 33rd anniversary for the Legend of Zelda series, we will be celebrating by going over each member's first Zelda game and how the series has changed over the decades. We will then discuss the newly announced Link's Awakening Remake for Nintendo Switch and other great Zelda-related topics. With that long explanation of the podcast for our first episode out of the way, let's begin with you, Zeltik. What was your first Zelda game and introduction to the series?
First one I can actually remember is Ocarina of Time. Basically my parents had a Nintendo 64 and they used to play Super Mario 64 all the time, but didn't actually like Ocarina of Time that much. So like, for as long as I can remember, I've been playing that game, but never getting past Dodongo's Cavern, because that place is terrifying. Have you seen like the music and that giant skull? And it was like little 5-year-old me like,
ain't gonna do this. Too much effort.
I definitely understand, because as soon as you bomb the wall down, you see that giant skull in the middle. I'm like, okay, I'm out. Nah. Wait, I gotta do this dungeon?
See, what terrified me was the Redeads outside the Temple of Time. I couldn't get past that for like a year. I like stopped playing once I became an adult. I'm like, I'm done.
There was zombies walking around Hyrule Castle Town.
Yeah, I was like, what happened to Hyrule 7 years after? I don't want to know. I didn't even see Hyrule after. I just kind of waited like a year before I continued playing it.
Yeah, and
like no lie.
And there's no way passing them. You have to walk next to them. That's the worst part.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're like 5 years old, you know, you're overthinking it. So.
Have you seen if you kill one of the Redeads there, the rest of them all kind of slowly walk over the Redead's corpse and like
seriously
down next to it? It's so weird.
What?
It's the inhabitants of Hyrule Castle Town.
I must have forgotten.
I didn't know about that.
Nah, they start eating the corpse.
Yeah, Jenny, I don't know whether. Yeah, I don't know whether they're meant to be like eating it or like.
I want to assume that they're eating it, because like of course that's how they attack you. So it's like, oh, free food.
Yeah.
Are they eating you?
We're not going for the emotional approach. What's that? No, they're just savages.
Yeah, they're biting you on your neck. They're just like.
It's like a Valentine's kiss with a little bit of teeth.
Man, I didn't realize those things had teeth until I saw the art for it. I'm like, yo, these are the things I'm fighting?
They have chompers?
Yeah.
The ones in the Wind Waker were way worse though, because they were like,
yo, no, those are the most terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of had like
Wind Waker's such a cute game,
like,
but it
it's
had
like an
the
elephant.
most terrifying enemy straight up just because of that Redead.
a bit of a tribal feel to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what influenced them,
definitely.
but I like it.
And the fact that
They're in the weirdest places as well. There's like the Cabana, which is like this kind of like little paradise island. For some reason, in their basement, there's like
wait, you don't
Redeads?
have Redeads in your basement? Wait, my life is a lie.
But I guess the scariest places of the Redeads must be the Earth Temple when they come out of those coffins.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So unexpected.
You don't know that they are there. It's like, okay, what kind of enemies will this temple have? And then that scream is just like, oh my god.
Like every time I play a new Zelda game, I always dread like coming into contact with Redeads. It's just like when they show up, it's like, oh, here we go. Like.
Yeah, that was one thing I really wanted in Breath of the Wild, like not just the Redeads, but like more classic Zelda enemies.
Yeah, the dark style enemies were completely missing from that game. Those that are about death and kind of the underworld.
There's a
well,
Yeah, it would have been perfect to have them as well, since most of the villages and everything were kind of
it's quite weird that they didn't use that at all.
Bodies.
Well, I guess the Guardians replaced them.
Well, that's just auto aim, isn't it? get sniped from the other freaking side of Hyrule Field. Nice.
Disgusting.
I love my life.
I mean, it does like make sense why there's so few different types of enemies, because every type of enemy in that game has like such good AI and everything that clearly
the
took
AI
so much
is
work.
insane. Like it's stupid how the bokoblins just function in the world. It's just they don't really have a set of things that they just do in a certain order. They just have a set of options, and they will just exist in the world. More options will open up. For example, if a barrel is closed, they can pick it up and throw it. That's an option they have, and the AI will just figure out what the best is.
Look, I took a Moblin's weapon once, and he picked up a bokoblin next to him and threw it at me.
there.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, you gotta love the physics engine in Breath of the Wild.
I just want to say I like how we veered off
Oh,
our first Zelda games into like enemy AI.
Yeah, like instant.
Oh yeah.
I have a good connecting story to this. Alright, first Zelda game. It was Baby Wily. I was very young. I was like 6, 7. And a friend of mine got the... I don't know if you know what it is, like the GameCube Collector's Edition disc, which had like a 20-minute a 20-minute promo for the Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and everything, all for the like GameCube. So he got that with Mario Kart back in the day. And he started playing Ocarina of Time, and he got into the Great Deku Tree, and he saw the spiders, and he was like, no. So he just turned around, and he was like, I'm not gonna do this.
No, that's the same with me, because I legit have severe arachnophobia. So let me tell you, when I went to Twilight Princess, and they actually had the realistic looking spiders, and I'm like, why are you doing this, man?
I was scared as well.
I was
It
like,
wasn't
Breath
only
of the Wild, those
realistic looking,
spiders
it was
good.
like... It was like 4 or 5 times the size of the Skulltulas in Ocarina of Time, and that was so frightening.
like-
and they could walk, and they could attack you, and it was just like, oh,
And they could
no.
block. Man.
Yeah,
I still can't get over the second phase of that boss. When he's like just that little tiny spider with a big eye,
that thing was
like
creepy,
running away
like-
from you for like.
Like, ugh, your abdomen is your giant eye. But yo, on that collector's edition, I sold my GameCube in order to buy another GameCube in order to get that collector's disc, because it only...
I just got it from that friend because he couldn't play the games because he was too scared.
No,
that's how I played my first Zelda games.
GameStop over here was stupid. Like, the only way to get that disc was to buy a GameCube. It's like, oh, you buy a GameCube and you get the collector's edition. I'm like, yo, Majora's Mask is on GameCube, man. I'll sell my GameCube and buy that again. Hell, what do you think this is?
It is a good collection, though.
Oh, definitely.
Like it's perfect, in my opinion.
This I had a solid arm and a
really
leg for that. But my first Zelda game, it was actually Link to the Past, and I loved it. And I went back to Zelda 1 afterwards, and I'm like, man, what is this? Like, and then Zelda 2, I'm like, okay, I guess. But I played Link to the Past literally on the eve, on the cusp of Ocarina of Time coming out, so I didn't have to really wait for that. And then when Ocarina of Time came out, it was just a wrap for me. But I was still very young, and all your stories about the Redes and the Skulltulas and everything, yeah, man, like that was the worst. I had to power through all that stuff. And don't get me started when I went to the Shadow Temple. That I took a break after that. Dead hands, nah, dude. Under the the well. Oh my god, nah.
Well, I just like I didn't really lose my shit when I went to the Shadow Temple, but the Forest Temple from Twilight Princess, like you said, those spiders. Ooh, no! I saw that thing dangling from the ceiling, and it jumped down, and I was like, all right, hit pause. What happened? Hit pause again, and run away. Run away.
Okay.
Hadn't touched the game for a week after that.
That temple's mad underrated though. In no other temple can you swing on monkeys. Like, that's such a weird idea.
I did like it.
And it was rather complex for being the first temple in a Zelda game. And very elaborate, very long actually. You had to go back and forth multiple times, and even some of the challenges were quite demanding. But my first Zelda game is pretty much the same as Ed. It was Ocarina of Time, and I remember everyone in the school was talking about this game. And when I first got it, I was just thinking, okay, this area Kakariko Village. No, not Kakariko Village. I mean Kokiri Forest. I thought that was the main area of the entire game, and then suddenly got into Hyrule Field, and I was just like, wow.
It just opens up. Yo, wait, I have a similar story to that, Conrad. Dude, when I was a jit and I first got Super Mario 64, I thought you could beat the game by going up the staircase in the first room. All right? And then when I found out there's a basement, there's a second floor, a third floor, I'm like, oh. Like, oh my goodness. Games are
the
wild
amount of content.
The 3D era.
Yeah.
It changed a lot.
It was such a magical time because the feeling of space was completely different. You were so bound to the world, like you were part of the world. While in Ocarina of Time, you finally felt like you were Link. That was the first time you actually felt like you were Link, and that made it so real in so many ways. You were going around and exploring Hyrule, and it was just like you could look into the horizon on Death Mountain and I mean up to Kakariko Village and as well as Lon Lon Ranch, and it was just like you can go to every of these places, and I have not had a feeling of exploration like that, maybe with exception of the Wind Waker, but I think I have to go all the way to Breath of the Wild until I had the same feeling of and a sense of discovery.
Well, the Wind Waker just hit the mark by like a hair, by just saying, oh hey, you see all those cool islands in the distance? You can't get them, first you need to get the pearls! And that annoys me so much, really.
You can't go this way, the waters are too dangerous.
Ooh, like I give a damn.
Yeah, so with my first Zelda game, I actually started off really young, and it was basically just a way to make me, I guess, stay quiet while my parents got my older brother ready for school. I think I was around 3 at the time. He was 5 or 6, just starting kindergarten. And one parent would wake him up for school, the other parent would wake or stay with me if I woke up, and to keep me calm or whatever, to keep me company, they would put on the Super Nintendo, which at that time was just A Link to the Past for me, and I just began playing that. And then when Ocarina of Time released for the Nintendo 64, that was when I would say I actually became addicted to the Zelda series, because before that it was just A Link to the Past that I would casually play. I didn't really have mini games, so it was just one that I kept going back to. And then with Ocarina of Time, it was the first time that I noticed, like, this is Kakariko Village on the old game, and this is what it now looks like however many years before or after, and now it's in 3D, it's a lot bigger, there's more stuff to do. So that's what really brought me in, because it was the first time there was a sense of familiarity while also offering.
It's just seeing it in a different perspective, basically. Oh yeah,
it's such a big jump from A Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time, because if you look at it like fundamentally, it's such a similar game, like structurally, but it's just such a huge jump just because it's obviously.
And we'll never get that again.
It's like mind blowing.
Find the 3 stones, grab the sword.
Do 8 more temples.
I would say that Ocarina of Time has an even better pacing, because when you get to the Dark World in A Link to the Past, things kind of slows down because you have so many temples forward. While in Ocarina of Time, I think they had the perfect balance with the whole approach of not having too many temples. And that was probably the best decision they made, because yes, you could have had more temples in Ocarina of Time, but I feel like when you get to the Temple of Light, it's just perfect. You don't go through another dungeon before you get into Hyrule Castle Town and see the wasteland that is there, or in the case of doing it right before, Sheik reveals the true identity. So I feel like even though they might have dropped the Temple of Light in Ocarina of Time, it was a wise decision, just because it would have ruined the pacing. It was perfect to go to Ganondorf after beating the Spirit Temple, because it was the theme of Gerudo, and then you have even your own people going against you, Ganondorf. Something is wrong.
Hmm.
From a storytelling perspective, I just feel like Ocarina of Time really nailed it.
It is
amazing.
Really good.
What about you, Luke?
What, for Zelda game, or what do I think about?
Yeah,
it was
Zelda
also
game.
OT,
Yeah.
so it was a generic answer. That's why I didn't want to say anything. I would just watch my mom playing it, and then I just started playing it myself. But
your parents
I
all
didn't really
play
get into it
games?
until Majora's Mask. My mom does, like, but that's aside the point. I mean, she has a YouTube channel, but ignore
Bloggers, plugger.
That's so cool.
No, but yeah, it wasn't until I played Majora's Mask, I'm like, wait, this is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time? Okay, I have to play Ocarina of Time. So I beat Ocarina of Time, then went to Majora's Mask and played it right after. I was like 7 or 8 when that happened, because I tried playing it when I was 5, but legit, I'm not lying, those redeads, I couldn't come back. I had to wait like a year to grow up a bit.
Mentally scarred.
I hated looking. Yeah, dude. Like, because they'd scream and then attach themselves to Link. Like, I don't know, man. That did not seem right at the time. Right now it's funny when I look at it, but as a kid, looked at it much differently. So
I had a very similar experience with the Gibdos in Twilight Princess's Arbiter's Grounds. Oh my god, with that giant sword and that scream. Oh. Like, the Gibdos are not that scary because you can't see their faces. In Twilight Princess, you could see their faces, and it was
Twilight
terrifying.
Princess did it so well, though. Yeah, like, even the rats that would, like, slow you down, those ghoul rats, like, everything about, or, like, even seeing Death's Sword for the first time, how, like, when you go turn on your senses, then you look at it, and it's like, whoa, like, I actually freaked out. I believe I actually literally, like, jumped up when I first saw the first Poe in Arbiter's Grounds, because it was literally like a jump scare. Yeah.
I just think everything about the Twilight in Twilight Princess is just terrifying. Like, the music's so weird. It's just noise, and then there's all these like insects going around, and all the people in Hyrule are just kind of sitting there shivering. So good.
I hope Nintendo does something similar to it, like just something dark, like.
Oh yeah, the idea was really good. Like, you can argue that the execution could have been better in certain places, but
can it?
Yeah, no, every freaking Zelda game. None of them are perfect, I would say. There is no 10 out of 10 perfect, no touches needed Zelda game. But I think...
Zelda 2? Are you kidding me?
It's a gem.
Yeah. That's why they haven't bothered remaking it.
If they are ever gonna remake Zelda 2, I will tattoo the logo of Zelda 2 on my forehead.
Oh, Nintendo, do it, you cowards! Let's go.
Whoa. Okay.
Well, not my forehead. All right, my arm. I'll put it on my arm. That's more realistic.
Engine Zelda 2. It can work so well. You guys don't understand. Yep.
You don't understand. First you make a good game, and then you make a bad game.
No. I'm completely with HMK here, because you just take the world of Breath of the Wild and expand it.
Dude. I'm sorry.
Oh, technically...
And then you use Zelda 2 for that?
There we go.
Yes! Adventure of Link!
Well, Zelda 2 takes the world from the first one, and then, like, the entire overworld of Zelda 1 is like a small corner in Zelda 2.
Yeah.
So if you took the entire world of Breath of the Wild and just made that a tiny, itsy-bitsy corner of the map of Breath of the Wild 2, it would be basically doing the same thing. And then you go on top of it
and turn it into a side-scroller.
And then you put it in the sky.
No, but with a Zelda 2 remake, I've often thought it would be interesting to see something similar to what they did with Metroid Samus Returns, to where they made it like the 3D model in the 2D world, sort of like they did with the new Super Mario Bros. So you just see
Return of Samus, the original Metroid 2 was the most trash Metroid game of all time. We're not counting Federation Force, right? So this game got remade. And it got remade to one of the best Metroid games, and I'm like, if Nintendo could do that to Metroid 2, they can easily do that to Zelda 2. All right.
Right. I know nothing about Metroid. What did they change then to make it from one of the worst into one of the best?
Like, the biggest problem Metroid 2 had, especially since it was on the Game Boy, was the pacing was trash, right? The pacing was trash. There was really a huge lack of direction, and a lot of those problems really was like, you know, boiled down to the fact that it was on the Game Boy and it only rendered like 2 colors, right? So it was really, when you go from Metroid 1 to Metroid 2 from the NES onto the Game Boy, it's just like, you know, it doesn't really translate well. And with all of those problems apparent, they take that and it's like non-existent when you put it on something like the 3DS. And then they not only fix the pacing, but they add so much more to the game from past Metroid. Like, it felt more like a Super Metroid sequel than it did a Metroid 2 remake. And if you played Super Metroid, oh, then you already know you're in for a good time. Because, man, I could not put Samus Returns down. That game was so good. Oh my god.
Yep.
Maybe I should buy it.
I do agree.
Get it! God, I haven't played a Metroid game that good in a while, man. That's what I'm saying.
I have never played a Metroid game.
Oh boy.
But speaking of remakes, we just got another one for Zelda, and it's a big one. It's a game that really needed a remake because especially the Game Boy version, has not been aging well over the years. But it's still one of those most unique Zelda, probably one of the if not even the most unique. Yeah,
it's got to be. It's so
like
weird.
Mario enemies, come on.
Yeah, it began as.
I'm happy.
Yeah, it's
Link's
so good,
Awakening
though.
is getting remade for one reason. I just want to like point that out along with the reason is that for me, for a long time, Link's Awakening was always just like I always get flack for this every time I bring it up, but Link's Awakening for me was always the bottom peg Zelda to me. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just that, you know, it's good. I enjoyed it, but just all the other games just had way bigger impact to me than Link's Awakening.
All right.
I mean, wait. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm glad Link's Awakening is getting remade. So now probably my opinion on it as a whole will change. And haven't you noticed ever since the announcement of Link's Awakening getting remade, everyone's all like, oh my god, Link's Awakening was such a great game. It was my favorite Zelda game of all time. And it was like, where were you? You weren't saying that like a year ago. You weren't saying that like 2 years ago. What happened?
Oh yeah, no, but that's just like, that's just the fanboys coming out of the woodworks that just want to...
No,
it isn't. It's just people that want to be credited with it.
They want to be with the wave.
Yeah.
And I would say, of the 2D Zeldas, Link's Awakening is actually a quite good Zelda game.
No, I'm not saying it's bad.
Well,
I'm not saying
it's up there.
It's up there.
It's just that,
but it has problems. It has some serious problems.
Man, I'm really excited for it.
I think the biggest issue that I'm glad they've fixed is obviously because it was on the Game Boy. It's like Zelda 1 style where you leave the screen, it pauses for a second, slowly scrolls to the next.
Right.
But then like obviously it's Nintendo Switch, it's all smooth, beautiful.
A Link Between Worlds style.
So I'll drop the bomb.
Okay.
What does everyone think about the art style?
I want to start.
I like it.
It's all right. It's
okay. Go.
It's adorable, but I'm not. I am like when Wind Waker came out. I was like, yo, why is everyone making such a big deal? This is Zelda. It's beautiful, and like a couple of years down the line, everyone's gonna love the art style. Trust me, because it's gonna be timeless, right? And then for the Wind Waker thing, I understood for a little bit because people were expecting something off of the heels of Space World, right? So like, oh, this is like a really big knee-jerker when it comes to what they were expecting, yada yada yada. Link's Awakening, I understand if people are a little too, you know, taken aback by how cute it looks, but at the same time, y'all, what else were you expecting from Link's Awakening? You know what I mean? You know, they were like, yeah,
I know it's meant to be the weird one.
Right.
Link's Awakening is the weirdest Zelda. It's meant to look
I'm good with it looking like that. I just wish it wasn't too shiny because everything looks like plastic, and I'm good with what the style looks like. I just wish it didn't look too plasticky. In terms of shine.
It reminds me a little bit of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, you know, the claymation style. Yeah, it's very reminiscent of that. And
or it reminds me of like you know the Yoshi games at the moment, like
Link's
they're all
Woolly
kind
World.
of realistic looking, like made of paper or stuff like that.
To me, it doesn't even look like
thing.
it's made by
that kind of
Nintendo.
vibe.
It looks like it's some indie company trying to make a Zelda
I think it's
with like
Grezzo.
Unreal Engine and the crazy lighting.
I think it's Grezzo that's
everything.
doing this one. I want to assume.
But then again,
it's really
I don't know if it's Grezzo,
again?
but I think it's Grezzo.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
HMK, you can't just throw that
Does it
out
not
there.
look
I
like
said I
the
think.
Oh yeah,
I
espresso!
Yeah, does it not look like the older claymation stop motion
It does.
style?
Oh my
yes.
god.
Yeah,
Yes!
it does.
Oh,
It does.
you cracked the
You
code.
broke it! You broke the enigma! You know the answers!
Well, but there's probably another reason as well, but that would be spoilers. So
I'm
That's
kind of...
spoilers for a 23-year-old,
There's some weird things.
man.
I got like...
26-year-old game.
I don't know how they're gonna do. Like, there's all the weird dark things in Link's Awakening, right? That I don't think
That's
will
what
work
I'm
No,
wondering.
no, no.
Yeah,
with
like
art
they
style. Like,
It could
I think
contrast.
I think it's the first dungeon. I think it's the first dungeon where, with Moldorm was the boss, right? So he can knock you off the edges of his arena, but then you can go down to like the
climb back
area
up.
where he knocks you off, and there's like
Yeah,
hanging
they-
corpses.
They show that in that dungeon, specifically that room you get knocked down into is. They show it in the trailer,
Yeah,
but I
but
did
not
not
the
see
corpses
the
bit.
hanging corpses.
Yeah. No, oh wait.
They don't
was
show
he
in the
showed us
trailer.
that
They
bit?
just show
Because
the
it had-
2Ds.
the trailer.
It had
Yeah.
Goombas, and
The only 2D section was with the Goombas.
because there are no
Yeah.
enemies
Yeah.
down there.
They didn't show it. I literally talked about it.
No, because
in
they
a
had
video,
level
like, that
3
exact
and level
part.
1 in the.
They
the
showed
two.
the ending of, or the ending of what Zeltik's talking about is at the boss battle. There's the part where you get, I believe, like do you get Rock's Feather immediately? I don't even remember. In that dungeon,
dungeon.
there's like a 2D section you have to go through.
It's pretty
Yeah,
early
yeah.
on. It's like, yeah, it's not immediate, but it's
Okay.
pretty early on. No, they showed what's his name.
Yeah, the one that pushes the.
that
Oh, that's
pink
a mini
blob
boss
thing. He
though.
rolls
Yeah.
the
That's a
thing. They
mini
have to hop
boss.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy right before Moldorm, isn't it?
They like,
Yeah, but it's things like that I don't know how
or
they're
like
gonna translate
or
to
like the
cute art
zombies
style.
that like chase you, or there's a lot of like.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
in
there's,
the
there's so
graveyard.
many things that just seem
Yeah, yeah,
bizarre
yeah.
for the game that I'm really curious on how it's gonna look cute. Like I just want to know, is Nintendo gonna make it look cute, or are they just gonna remove it entirely?
But then to be fair, you could say, how would Wind Waker have scary redeads, and it's got
Yeah,
terrifying redeads. I think because they contrast.
It
so
could
well,
be like an
I'd say.
entire... They just went for that aesthetic as well, because there's so much dark stuff in it, that they can also contrast it off the cutesy Moe type
Right.
True.
horseradish that's in the
I can't
game.
wait to go to that room. Oh.
Anime zombies.
Anime! Oh, that
Yeah,
intro
there's like
though. That intro
a
though.
demon bat or something as well in the game that like wants like there's some really weird dialogue. There's a lot of things weird in that game that's supposed to seem bizarre. Obviously, if you played the game, you know why. But I wonder, like, I'm just curious on how all that's gonna look within the game. Like, if Nintendo does keep it the same, I think people won't hate on the game even if it is too cute, because they're gonna look at stuff like that and be like, well, at least there's something to the game. It's not like you should generic game made for kids. Because I feel like a lot of people are looking at the game like this is just catered to kids. They don't know that it actually is a deep Zelda game.
Yeah, but you
for what it was.
can criticize the art style, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's another thing that we should bring up. The old Zeldas were much less afraid to bring up dark themes and very dark designs, which Link's Awakening is another perfect example of it. Because when you look at a player's guide for Link's Awakening, you can see how serious some of those enemies are, and I feel like this is a perfect compromise in many ways between the Zelda of today and Zelda of yesterday. The only problem is I'm afraid they might tone it down a little bit because they want to. The PG ratings have changed a little bit over the years, and trying to promote this as teen may not be the best strategy. The art style might have they might have an intention with it to also market it to young children, and that makes me a little bit afraid about the changes that they could make, especially after I watched. I don't know if anyone of you have watched Majora's Mask 3D remake breakdown by Nero.
Yeah.
The one that has
that's the one with
the
the
moon
thumbnail
that looks
screwed
up.
like from Star Wars.
I've watched it, but it's still in my
Same.
recommended. It won't
True,
go.
I feel like I haven't seen it, but I feel like I've seen that thumbnail.
It's just like a
Yeah, you
moon with
probably
like
have.
lips.
Yeah.
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 It's disgusting, really, in a good way.
Well, regardless, I think I'm just so excited to steal from
Get
the shop.
blasted
No,
for it.
spoilers!
Blasted in HD.
Spoilers!
Spoiler.
That's one of the big moments in the game.
And actually, the egg on top of the island is. Let's just spoil the entire game.
I feel bad for everyone who played Smash Bros. And got that windfish spirit.
Yeah. Wait, is the egg?
How old is it? It was 1993, wasn't it? It's like 26 years old. I don't know.
Yeah, I made the joke that Nintendo is going to release an amiibo of an egg.
Please don't be true.
I mean, like, jokes aside, I do really want a Toy Link amiibo, like a new, this like new Link's Awakening design of Link. I think that
it's
would make the cutest amiibo.
We don't have Hero of Legends amiibo. No, we don't have one. Yeah, so
no, we don't.
Why not? It would be perfect.
Cool. Then we can spend our money on more amiibos. Even more
Zelda
amiibos.
Get it?
Yep. Yeah. That's where ad revenue meant to have a little more Zelda.
Your ad revenue just funnels into your Nintendo Switch account. Buying games and amiibos.
Yeah. I'm just missing 2 Zelda amiibos right now. Just 2 right here. Young Link from Smash and Twilight Princess.
Is he out?
Now
Yeah,
he's out. I thought he was out. I thought it's pre-order.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I know, like, Piranha Plant and stuff's come out like now.
The Young Link one.
I own every Zelda amiibo. I'm waiting for the Young Link one.
I feel like
I kind of hope they re-release the characters that have changed designs and Smash.
Link, they need to change it too. Let's get that.
I would love it, but they're not gonna. They confirmed they're not gonna update the existing ones that got different design changes. I would love to get a Champion Link Smash Bros. Version, but
yeah, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, with the Master Sword and
that'd be sick. So I've got like the Rider Link and stuff, but not.
Let's go down this line. How many amiibos do you all have? Like, how many amiibos do you own?
You gotta really maybe get up and just count them.
Yeah, I can't count, bro.
I can't count. Quit it.
I think I have around 20. I just collect.
Yeah, if I had to make an estimate, I'd say like 15 or something. I'm
pretty much collect
like,
the Zelda and
more
the
than
Metroid,
50 for sure.
And of course the Super Mario Odyssey ones. You know, the wedding.
Dude, that's like 50 alone, man. If you collect every Zelda one, that's like 50, right? Or am I over exaggerating?
I don't. Wait, how many? Breath of Wild alone, there's probably like.
I have 27 amiibos.
There's all the champions and everything.
Or maybe it's like 25.
7, 8,
I am exaggerating.
You all have amiibos.
Okay.
12,
I own every 14, Zelda amiibo,
15.
every. Let's just say every Zelda. I'm just gonna stop there, and then a bunch of random ones.
I have 0.
Have like 5.
Oh my god!
I don't buy amiibos. See, they're a waste of money.
Dr.Wily's a smart dude. You're the smart one. Like out of all.
I had one amiibo. I got it from Nintendo, and I just signed it, and I gave it away to someone.
You don't need amiibos. You need this.
Ooh.
The first 4-figure one of Link is it's such a beauty.
Nah, I need.
How sexy!
Yeah, one that they made more than 10
like
of.
the cheapest first 4-figure
because they made more than 10 of it, so people could actually get it.
Yep. And they made them cheap as well. I think it was.
It was $80,
so,
I think.
Going back to this Link's Awakening remake, do you guys think they're going
They
to
need
add
to because
anything or
Link's Awakening is a short
anything
game.
with almost every?
I think they're gonna add.
Yeah.
It's like what, 15 hours?
That's another thing we need to bring up
the
because we have the DX version and the original one, and the DX version added 2 dungeons if I'm not wrong, one at the beginning and one at the end.
Oh, yeah, was it one the color dungeon? That wouldn't even make any sense.
Yeah, the color dungeon.
I think it was one dungeon.
I thought it just had the.
One was literally showcasing colors. Like the whole point was it was meant to be played on the Game Boy Color. How the hell are they gonna make that for the Switch? I mean, I guess they can. They can keep it. They won't. What else did the DX add?
I'm gonna Google it now.
I think it'd be cool if they did.
Changes.
Got to do because there was Link's Awakening, then Link's Awakening DX on the Game Boy Color, obviously. Color Dungeon shows off, color. I think it'd be cool if they do an extra dungeon based on something that the Switch has. Like, I don't know, something about the Joy-Con dungeon.
No. So I imagine they would have done something similar to the Four Swords dungeon in
that would be cool.
Past, to where you go into a brand new dungeon, and even if it's as something as simple or as stupid as picking up a brand new item that literally just splits Link into 3 other versions of itself or 4 different versions of itself to have multiplayer within just that dungeon. That's
you're giving
what
Nintendo
they
too
did
much credit.
Minish Cap.
They're not gonna do that.
Well, it's what they did in like Minish Cap when you'd go and you'd get the sword and then it would split you into 2, later on split you into 3 and then 4 and
yeah. But then again, Majora's Mask is also a rather
I don't
short
know.
game if you only count the dungeons, and they didn't add much, with exception of that fishing pond, and yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
By the way, for the record, the things they added to the DX version was the camera shop and the color dungeon and then some minor things.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So yeah, I hope they keep the photos. That was pretty
I hope
cool.
you can share the photos. Unlike, oh wait, Miiverse is dead.
Well, everyone will have the same, and everyone will have
Amiibo unlocked photos.
See, it would have been perfect if
The photo
if they would've
dungeon.
still had Miiverse. That way you could share this thing on there. And then I wonder if they could add in something for Amiibo. Like if you tap in Amiibo,
I think they did say it would
you'll
have
get
support,
something in
right?
the game. Or
I'm making this up.
Yeah, probably. It'd be the first Zelda game in years to not. Wait, did A Link Between Worlds or not?
It
Or was that
didn't.
before that little adapter came out?
No, it didn't.
No, there's
Well, still, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, obviously Breath of the Wild have all had.
Wind Waker HD had
Amiibo
Amiibo?
support,
I didn't
haven't
even know that. It had Amiibo support?
What?
Wind
Wait,
Waker,
no, Wind
that's
Waker didn't.
It didn't.
Did it? No,
Nope.
I don't think so. Twilight
Yeah, Wind
Princess
Waker
definitely
didn't.
did. Obviously, there was like the Ganondorf challenge thing.
Yeah, because Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, and I guess Triforce Heroes had amiibos.
I don't think Triforce Heroes used Amiibos.
I'm not gonna lie, I have never.
I have played it.
I don't-
You are
dude,
not
I
missing
don't blame
anything.
you. Yeah, you're not. They actually have really cool outfits that I feel like is a shame that they put effort
Look,
in that, but the game itself
Can
is
I
trash.
tell
Yeah,
you
they
right
get-
now that Triforce Heroes music is actually godlike?
So good.
It's
yeah,
good.
so
It's good.
My
good.
God,
It
I'm
is,
so
it is,
mad. Like,
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
The game
got
would have
some
been
weird-
good if you didn't have to switch bodies. If they just followed you like Four Swords Adventures and you could play it by yourself, I think the game would have been really good. The levels weren't that bad. It's just it relies too much on other people.
Oh yeah, and if you like, for example, my first experience with it was at a convention, and it was with a couple of friends, and it was our turn to give it a shot. And one friend of mine was just she couldn't comprehend how video games functioned. So I had to deal with that together with another friend of mine, and we couldn't get anything done. Nothing. One person was just couldn't. And everything just fell flat immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And you share hearts. So it's even
it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
unplayable.
yeah.
If you have one person that can't do it, it's unplayable.
And especially if you play online, that's such a mess because there's no way to
and
communicate.
lag.
Oh my god.
Or make it to the end of the level, someone disconnects, and then you don't get the treasure. Like, sweet.
I love this game.
For no reason.
This is exactly
Good game
why
design.
I just feel like multiplayer in Zelda doesn't blend good enough. Like, you had Four Swords
But they
Adventures.
can make it work.
Four
They can
Swords-
make it work. No, those games suck. I'm talking about like they can do something like where Breath of the Wild is just single player and then
Online.
give you that. I hate to say it, Dark Souls like thing where you can just battle other people or compete against other people in their solo game, world. Like they shouldn't have it where it's a multiplayer game. They should just have it where there is some sort of like competitive aspect.
Yeah, because I thought one of the coolest things in A Link Between Worlds was like the Shadow Link
that was
challenges,
actually really
but
sick.
You don't get to
you
fight
fight
them.
a
It's
spirit
like a
of them.
computer
Yeah.
controlling them, isn't it? But if it was like proper 1v1 Link combat, I think
Well,
that
they
was
could
better.
also just like
For Breath of the
add
Wild,
like a co-op feature to. They could have done that with Breath of the Wild even, and I was quite surprised they didn't. Why can nobody play as the damn wolf? Why can nobody play as Wolf Link?
Oh,
That would
yeah.
be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
And it could
Yeah.
easily
Or, like,
work.
summon
They could
someone
just
from the
rip
Master
everything from
Trials.
Twilight
But
Princess.
we have to remember one thing about Breath of the Wild, and that is that the game was so complex. Like, if you look at the math of Breath of the Wild, it's going to blow your mind.
And then also,
yeah.
I think one big thing, if the Wolf Link was playable, I think a lot of people would complain because that's technically hiding multiplayer behind a paywall.
True.
Yeah, but otherwise they're gonna buy the Amiibo for nothing anyway, because they're Nintendo fans.
Right.
So,
But it's still,
I mean, Nintendo hid the Master Sword's true power behind $20. Like, who would have thought Link would have had to
that's
pay
true.
$20?
Nah, you got earnings. Like, what?
that was an expansion pass.
that's true. It's pay to win.
It's not horse armor DLC.
Breath of the Wild, pay to
Though we
win,
got that as
confirmed.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to Link's Awakening. How much do you think it will be priced? People are discussing $40, $60.
I think it's going to be 60.
Price, isn't it?
It's going to be full price.
Yeah, knowing Nintendo, it will be,
yeah,
but it shouldn't.
Oh yeah, they will.
I think
No,
it'll...
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry, what were you saying? Okay, I was gonna say they could do something similar to Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, to where they charge the cheaper price for just the game, but then they add an amiibo in the box, or like the Ganondorf statue to Wind Waker, to where you pay the extra $10 and then you get a cool little bonus with the game. That way they can actually charge.
Well, let's do an educated guess here by looking up what the prices were at launch for other remakes they made recently, like Majora's Mask 3DS.
60. Well, for the Switch, you can just look at Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and that was $60.
Yeah, but this is a smaller game that they sell in the eShop for like $5. So I can see it being 40 or 50. 40 would make sense.
It could be 40.
Unless they expand it with 1 or 2 more dungeons.
Yeah, hopefully they do, but I doubt it. You know, I hate to be a pessimist.
What do you guys think this means though for 2020? Because that'll be 3 years since Breath of the Wild, and it doesn't look like Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening's the kind of game that takes much development time at all.
I swear to God, if this game gets delayed out of 2019, I will be on full tilt alert. Because I'm like, how? What? Like, yeah, I'm saying, yeah.
What, Link's Awakening?
No, it's coming out. It's probably already made.
I'll be on full tilt alert.
It's probably coming out tomorrow, bro.
I'll join timer. If it gets delayed, I'll fucking tingle on my eyeball. But it's not getting delayed.
I believe you guys where I say that I don't think this is being developed in-house by Nintendo, so I don't think this is taking away development time from the next Zelda game, which apparently they're working on since the end of Breath of the Wild. So I think 2020 is a good, case in point. It's like, oh, look at the next big Zelda game, because it's a remake, and how, like, oh, you don't understand video game development. It's like Link's Awakening was a tiny game, dude. Like, how long would development last for something like that, especially if they're not going to be adding, if we don't know if they're going to be adding a lot more stuff or anything like that. So I do believe 2020 2021 next Zelda game. And also Link's Awakening is a remake, so we are literally still one game away from the big 20. I want to see what Zelda number 20 is going to be like, because Nintendo
20. Oh, yeah. Well, it got to be the next open air Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. Make Breath of the Wild
this is one
crack.
thing. Like, this is one thing I want to bring up, and that is because we got Link's Awakening remake, and a complete remake, not just the remaster. It means that we're not getting a new 2D Zelda before the next open air Zelda. That's my theory.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just hope they will reuse the assets from Breath of the Wild and actually be smart. Just reuse the assets, make a game, and so that it can be out like in 2020 basically. And
yeah, everyone wants that.
Oh, they will. You don't put that much time and money into an engine.
They've done it plenty of times. Just create a whole engine for one game and then just throw it in the trash can.
They don't really throw in the trash. They just
they save it on the hard drive somewhere in Tokyo.
They mutate the hell out of it, because
like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are the same.
The Skyward Sword engine is a heavily modified Twilight Princess engine. Like Breath of the Wild is actually the first new engine they built for a Zelda game in a long time. So
and I have an idea about this. I think they might keep Hyrule as it is, but just have another world next to it. Say that you begin the adventure of Hyrule, for some reason you get taken to another kingdom or whatever, and then you return for the end back to Hyrule and get to explore Hyrule at its peak, because that way they can really reuse the assets from Breath of the Wild, but adding at the same time something new, that being no post-apocalyptic Hyrule, but instead Hyrule at its peak.
Yeah, I would love that. I want to run through the cities and feel like a really good boy and be happy. Just like Hyrule Castle, but prettier.
I just want to say to anyone who would be in the comment section saying that, oh, but they wouldn't release Zelda games that close to each other and stuff. I'm like, have you not paid attention 2011, we had Ocarina of Time 3D and Skyward Sword in the same year. 2013, we had Wind Waker HD and A Link Between Worlds in the same year. 2015, we had Majora's Mask 3D and Triforce Heroes in the same year. So, like, if anything, I'm surprised that the next Zelda game is not coming out the same year as 2010. But like, oh, it's the Switch. I'm like, 2020 is.
HMK is coming for you.
Yeah.
He's gunning you down before he can even say it.
But
there's actually a lot of people
they could reveal it at E3.
I want to be optimistic, but I don't think they're going to.
Maybe not.
I still hope.
Maybe next
yeah,
E3.
Next E3.
Come on.
Yeah. But there's actually a lot of people that forget that Nintendo has, at certain times, third parties that work on Zelda games. Where they have two different teams of their own that works on Zelda games. So when they think of, when they think of Zelda, they just think, well, Breath of the Wild released a couple years ago, so the next Zelda is not going to come out for another 3 or 4 years. When it's like, well, like at one point, or at least around the same time, Nintendo had their home console team working on Breath of the Wild. Their handheld team was working on like Triforce Heroes.
Yeah, probably.
With Grezzo. Or Grezzo was working on Majora's Mask 3D, and then they had the third party working on Hyrule Warriors. They had Tantalus working on Twilight Princess HD, and that's like 5 or 6 different Zelda games all.
Yeah, and don't forget, they quoted, they said this 100%. We want to bring out a Zelda-related game every year, so they're gonna deliver on that.
Yeah. Last year was
Hyrule. And
last
they
year
already
we
had
had
the game for 2019. So.
Last year we had Hyrule Warriors Legends.
Last year we haven't.
Hyrule Warriors
true.
Definitive Edition. There you go.
Definitive Edition. If you count that as a Zelda game, I guess they
Zelda themed. They just said Zelda themed.
Zelda themed. Oh, true.
The definitive edition of a game that doubtfully can be considered a Zelda game.
I mean,
next year will be the Connect 3.
Next year we'll finally get the Tingle horror game that we have been waiting for years.
Yo, can I say that I'm kind of glad and I'm interested to see that they're using the beat up Zelda logo now from now on?
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I was gonna ask that. Yeah, why?
Because
Is it like redesign?
I like that logo, but like it makes sense with Breath of the Wild.
It makes sense after Breath of the Wild.
100 years after the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's like
that.
no, it's like Zelda, where Zelda became a legend. Like everything that happened in the Zelda series happened plus 10,000 years ago. So I was thinking this was supposed to be like Zelda after the Legend of Zelda. You know what I mean? Like where it's kind of like starting anew. Why would Link's Awakening if it's before Breath of the Wild completely?
Well, what if it's a toy now? Because it's just like a retelling of
You just open a storybook.
What if the graphics artist was so lazy and used just promotional art for Breath of the Wild?
I think it's because Breath of the Wild was like a huge hallmark in the Zelda series. Like, oh, this is the Zelda series done and
so this is what people are gonna recognize. That logo,
it's done and new.
Probably.
So like, this is it moving forward. Crap.
I can understand that.
With the original Link's Awakening, it used the same logo as Link to the Past, which was a huge logo revamp after. Because Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 had pretty much the same logo.
Different colors.
And then Link to the Past changed it up. Different colours, same font. And then, obviously, it reused the logo, and it's just done that again. And have you seen, it seems to be the same artist from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah, the promotional art.
The art of Kahulin.
It looks like the same style, but
they're the same kind of like heavy brush strokes and stuff.
Making sure that this project doesn't cost too much, and I think Link's Awakening is actually a rather cheap project for Nintendo. Developing that art style and getting those few anime-like cutscenes, unless those pictures that you have in Link's Awakening DX get replaced with actual anime cutscenes, then I think that this is a very cost-efficient Zelda project.
But
it's most likely the A Link Between Worlds engine.
Yeah, because it just looks like it, but upscaled.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was originally going to be a 3DS game, but it's now on Switch.
Thank God they didn't.
That's actually not a bad guess.
Screw the 3DS.
Yeah, so I have two things. One, about what you just mentioned with it being a 3DS game. Every remake we've had so far, this is the first thing, but every remake we've had so far, if it was in 3D for the 3DS, it had 3D at the end of it. If it was for the Wii U or in HD, it had HD at the end of it. This had neither. So I wonder if it'll be a dual launch like Fire Emblem Warriors, where they released it on the Nintendo Switch.
100% they're not going to release it on 3DS.
Same time.
The 3DS is dead. And
the 3DS is dead.
It's dying.
There's no need.
It's dying.
Yeah, 3DS is dead. They should focus on the Switch.
It died before this Nintendo Direct. This was the first Nintendo Direct where they didn't talk about anything for 3DS, and it's like, okay, it's over.
Why
it had
would
its run. It was longer than any other thing, pretty much than the Game Boy, and yeah. It's over.
There's no real need for them to bring it to the 3DS, because then people on the 3DS will buy it. Great. That's not how we're going to move Switches, which is the future of the company. So they're not interested in moving more 3DSs. That's done now. They just wanted to sell a couple more games that were in development, and that's it.
And besides, there's another thing as well. 3DS has the most Zelda remakes of all systems imaginable.
Oh yeah.
Like you can even argue that A Link Between Worlds is a remake of A Link to the Past to some extent.
Nah, it's literally called. It's literally called A Link. It's literally called Link to the Past 2 in Japan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
Or whatever, God of the Triforce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really quick, the second thing is going back to the Tingle horror game. We had a video on my channel where we discussed how Tingle could have been in a horror game, and I had the joke of imagine the PT demo that was on PlayStation, but instead of the ghost witch chasing you, it's just Tingle
I really want that Tingle horror game. I want to see what it would look like. I want to travel to Vanpool's house, knock on his door, and steal his computer. And I want to see it. I would love that. But another thing I want to get to, which is very important, that introduction to Link's Awakening, that anime-themed cutscene. What did we all think about that?
Man, I was saying One Piece for the longest, because I'm like, okay, water, ship, One Piece, and it zoomed in on Link on the ship. I'm like, okay, here we go. Give me a Zelda anime, please, Nintendo. What are you doing?
I was fully expecting a 3D Link's Awakening. Like
I was expecting that a bit as well.
Eventide Island.
I think most people's disappointment was tied to exactly that.
Yeah, because it goes from such a anime, like badass anime scene, marshmallow graphics.
Marshmallow graphics.
Oh shit.
A bit harsh.
So
I mean, is it not? It sort of reminds me of like Pokemon, where the characters are like small little marshmallows.
Everybody, just in ZeldaMaster's opinion on the new Link's Awakening. It looks like a marshmallow. End quote.
Looks good enough to eat, dude. So I mean, I'd play it.
End quote. Nice.
Put that in.
Too much water.
So yeah. Okay, so 33 years of Zelda. It's been quite a ride, and it looks like Nintendo is not forgetting about the franchise, and especially the anniversary, and bringing another proper remake of a game that really needed it from way back, all the way back in 1993. But I think we could maybe finish this podcast off by saying how we see the next 33 years of Zelda, and kind of see where the franchise is going.
As long as it keeps making money, it'll keep going.
If it keeps making moolah, I'm here, boys.
Right.
I'll be making videos.
I'm just waiting for Zelda Fishing Simulator. Just imagine.
I'm really glad.
Yo, I'll take that, dude. I'll take any Zelda spin-off. I think with this remake coming out, hopefully Nintendo could realize that maybe they should make more either remakes or spin-offs or just smaller games like that.
Oh yeah. Am I just like, did I dream this, or did they say they're making a Zelda like smartphone?
I don't know. I feel like I've heard rumors about that. But
has that ever been confirmed? I'm sure it's been a rumor for years, but I don't know whether it's.
They said they were, whenever they originally partnered with DNA, they said they would be bringing all of their main properties to smartphones.
That might have been where it came from. But just think, like Super Mario Run, they just do like a 2D Mario game you can play with one thumb. Just put like, I don't know, design a load of little Zelda dungeons.
Dude, hell yeah, I need that shit up.
No.
I need something like that.
Ed, you're right. They released, what was it, patents or something? They patented horseshit. And they're they're bringing Zelda and Donkey Kong to mobile, in a way.
Yeah.
They patented,
Correct.
so it's gonna happen.
Hey, there we go.
But what is more important, when will we have Zelda Maker?
Ooh.
We don't need it.
I think that'd be too complex. They don't want to rely on people to make full-on dungeons.
Well, it's,
You know,
if it's top
worlds are-
down, it could work
well,
quite well, because you have just room up
If
to
you
the room.
remember-
Because Super Mario Maker, they kind of admitted was kind of like almost an end for 2D Mario, didn't they? They said basically like,
Yeah.
right, you make your own levels now. Obviously, not in those words, but like I think 2D. I don't think 2D Zelda's dead yet. Like they'll
Are you
keep
sure?
going with that. There's so many ways they can.
Are you sure about that?
Sorry,
The original. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure it's something along those lines.
Since we're talking about the future of Zelda, when would the next 2D Zelda be?
2019.
No, I mean
Ooh, smart.
No, the next new 2D
I want a
Zelda.
sequel to Spirit
Yeah,
Tracks.
I don't know.
That'd be so awesome.
Oh, something else. Yeah, something that you don't have to draw on the.
I mean, I
touchscreen,
wouldn't
so-
care if you had to do that
Do half the
still, but it
puzzles.
wouldn't work on the Switch.
And there's that puzzle. There's that puzzle where you like. I can't remember what you've got to do, but the solution is
Oh
like
yeah,
closing
you
the
have to
3DS
literally
or something
stamp
like
it
that.
like the Infinite Hourglass to like have it show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like literally press it on. I thought it was kind of clever. I mean, you can't do that on the
Yeah.
Switch. I think on the Wii U you have to put the Wii U to sleep or something.
Okay,
Oh
Something like
right.
that.
I think if they fix some things about those games, I'd like to see.
because
Well,
the way I
on the
see the
Switch.
future of Zelda is that we are going to see 4 types of future Zelda games, unless the 2D top-down Zelda is dead when it comes to new ones, and they just make Zelda Maker instead, just like they did with Super Mario Maker.
You make your own levels now.
Yeah, obviously. One is 2D Zelda, top-down, or in 3D, just like with Link's Awakening. Another one is to have another game in the style of Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D, and continue the story of the Hero of Time, because that would be freaking... It would sell so well.
People have been wanting that
people
for
will go
ages,
wild
yeah.
if they see the Hero of Time again in the same
But
type
the
of game.
expectation, like, how would you follow up from
Right.
Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and like end off that trilogy?
much.
Imagine the pressure.
Well, we all know how it ended for
Yeah,
the Hero of
exactly.
Time, and I think that you make it bigger and more epic than ever, and I think that's the recipe. Just make sure that you have the traditional style of dungeons, because this is one thing I'm very afraid of, and I think we'll go over it the next time. The future of Zelda dungeons, especially in 3D. That's the perfect way to, I think, end off this first podcast.
Yep.
I agree.
No more
Stop
divine
it.
beasts, basically. Just want like action.
We'll save
No,
it
I
for the
want more
next time.
puzzle boxes.
So, before we end off, what will the new chamber really be? Because I think people wonder, since the original members are back, in many ways it's back to basics. What will this new chamber be?
Well, the old chamber never really worked out the way we wanted it to. We essentially wanted to do something like this, where it's just a place where you can come to listen to 6 or 7 Zelda YouTubers talk about what they love. But the vision for the last one obviously didn't quite work out. So this one, we will just stick to doing things like this at the start as the kind of, meat and potatoes of the Chamber of Sages content. It will just be Zelda YouTubers
pretty much a
talking about
video
Zelda.
cast, and from time to time also cover news. Say that we might do a special before E3, for instance, because we know that Link's Awakening will be there, and also, speculate, I guess.
I wonder how much space they're gonna take up at the show.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited for E3.
It's not going to take
I
much.
wanna
be
Pokemon
done.
is going to take all the attention.
Oh,
I actually
I'm ready.
think I'm going to tell you the games that are moving over from 3DS to the Switch are going to take all the booth space. Pokemon, Fire Emblem, and Animal Crossing.
Fair enough. We'll have to see.
So yeah. But on that note, happy.
Yeah. Does anyone have any
can't we just
closing
say happy
thoughts?
anniversary?
Yeah,
Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary,
Oh, yeah.
Zelda!
Anniversary.
To another
Happy
33 years.
If I'm still alive, then.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
You don't have big expectations,
fast,
Time,
die
You
young.
don't have big expectations to yourself.
No. 33 years, I'm gone. The ink of the tattoo would have killed me. Don't worry.